So for Chapter 3, we're going to shift gears just a little bit. Chapter 3 is specifically about the Assure model. So rather than taking you through our text, which you guys are to read for, as part of this module, we're going to focus specifically on what the Assure model, how it breaks down. And so I'm using a website, instructionaldesign.org, that has Sharon Smaldino's specific ideas toward one of, the models she was in part the creator of. She and Deborah Lowther and Cliff Mims and James Russell all have kind of taken this model from the 1990s, and they've tweaked it and changed it over the years. So the Assure model takes Robert Gagne's events of instruction, and it assures effective use of media in instruction. So the A stands for analyzing learners. S, state your standards and objectives. The next S, select your strategies, technology, media, and materials. The U, you utilize the technology, media, and materials. The R, require learner participation. And E, evaluate and revise. Your big assignment or your big project for this course, at the end of 5 weeks, you are going to create and implement an Assure model project with learners. So if you have not found a class yet, you need learners that will go through. You're going to sit down or at least over the phone or by email or text, if you've got access to Skype or some other video conferencing software. You're going to work with a client to develop and implement a project that utilizes multimedia with your learners. So this can be a regular classroom group. This could be learners that you're going to teach, maybe a group of teachers, but you really need to think about how to break down these 6 steps and create and implement your model by the end of our semester. And I realize we only have 5 weeks, but so it's going to be critical that you have some ideas rolling around in your mind. So I loved what Sharon Smaldino said about the Assure model. To assure good learning, I believe it's not one single thing that a teacher or designer should consider, but I do believe that there are areas of emphasis. So the first thing, the Assure model starts with looking at your learner in detail. Nothing that you plan or design is effective unless you really take the time to look at your learners. And some areas to consider during your learner analysis would be, what are the general characteristics of your learners? What are some specific entry competencies, knowledge, skills, and attitudes about the topic that your learners should have or typically possess? And then you need to also look at what their learning styles are. So let's say, for example, you are creating a professional development activity for your incoming teachers this next school year. Your client is going to be maybe the school librarian, and their job is to make sure that all of the incoming teachers understand how to use Google Calendar to sign up for the various devices. So the first thing you need to think about with your learners, if you have brand new teachers that are in their early 20s or even early 30s that are typically tech savvy, and I do realize that is making an assumption, your design might be a little different than if you have to go back and work with maybe some veteran or seasoned teachers that maybe are in their late 40s, early 50s, or even up into their 60s that maybe have used technology tools in the past, but maybe just really aren't familiar with Google yet, the Google Calendar. It would just be a little bit different in how you design your instruction based on what your learners are. And if there's a wide variety, then you're going to need to offer different types of strategies to utilize the technology, the media materials, than if you have one specific type of learner, maybe all second graders coming in to learn a technology tool for something else. So you're really going to need to get with your client, whomever it is you are developing this instructional intervention or these activities with, and you're going to need to know as much as possible about the learners to help you design and implement the instruction much better. Second, the second letter, assured, the first S, refers to knowing your intended outcomes or expectations. So you shouldn't ever begin instruction without everybody having a clear understanding of what is supposed to happen during that instruction. You can call that backward design as well. Some of your learners will get lost if you don't really have a roadmap for where it is you're trying to go. So for this S, this is where you will state whatever standards and objectives it is that you are trying to master. And for your objectives, you will be using the ABCD model that really spells out who your audience is, what the behavior is that they are going to be expected to exhibit, the conditions under which they'll be performing this behavior, and then the degree to which they are going to be expected to master it. And the standards that you use, these can be the ISTE standards, these can be content area standards, these can even be national standards. So try to look for a variety, maybe include at least 2 of each type within your model. But like I said, it does depend on if you have student learners or adult learners. At some point, though, you will need to incorporate some form of ISTE standards, since all of your projects will be dealing with technology. And as for the second S, this is where you select your strategies and resources. So once you've analyzed your learners, you've stated those standards and objectives that you will be trying to accomplish, then you need to establish, what your students' present, or your learners' present knowledge, skills, and attitudes are, and then whatever that ending point is, those learning objectives of your instruction, and your task would be to build a bridge between those 2 points. You need to choose appropriate instructional strategies and resources that will help you achieve those objectives. Then when you look at the U, this is where you are utilizing those resources. How are you crossing that bridge? This is where you're looking at technology, media, materials, any of those that will help your learners achieve your learning objectives. So to do this, you're going to follow the 5P process. You're going to preview your resources. You're going to prepare the resources. You're going to prepare the environment. You'll prepare the learners, and then you'll provide that learning experience to help them utilize all of those resources. When you get to R, this is where you need to require learner participation. So to be effective, your instruction needs to require the learners to actively engage in whatever the instruction is. So you need to provide activities that allow them to practice whatever new knowledge or skills you're trying to get them to accomplish. They need to receive feedback on their efforts before they are formally assessed. So the practice might involve, a self-check. It could be a computer-assisted instructional activity. It could be an internet activity, or it could even be a group exercise or a paired exercise. Feedback could come from either the teacher, that would be you. It could be from the computer itself. Maybe it was a self-check, or a quick self-assessment quiz. It could be from other students, or it could even be a self-evaluation. But before you get ready for E, which is to evaluate and revise, you definitely want to give your learners a little feedback before they get to that final step. So after you implement the lesson, then you're going to evaluate the impact on the student learning. This assessment not only examines the degree to which your students achieve the learning objective, but it also examines the entire instructional process and the impact of using whatever technology and media you've used has on your learners. So whenever there's a discrepancy between learning objectives and student outcomes, then you would revise your lesson to plan, with a plan to address those areas of concern. If when you get to the end and you've evaluated and everything seemed to match, then that's fine. So when you take the time to consider what went well, what could be changed, that information should help you redesign any parts that you need to, to provide a better designed instructional event for your future opportunities. And if you'll take the time to read through the specific parts of the Assure model within our text in Chapter 3, you'll have much more in-depth ideas and opportunities for how to select those strategies and resources that you want to use, and then how to utilize the resources with your learners.